Welcome to the latest edition of the Clutch Pro podcast. I'm a little late this week coming at you as I took a little hunting trip with my fiance and my puppy. He had a great time. I didn't kill anything, but that's okay because I had a good time and that's what matters. But anyways, we're gonna have a very KenPom centric episode this week. So I hope you like KenPom. I hope you enjoy it. I love his ratings. I think it's very in depth. I think it's very accurate and it means a lot as far as NCAA tournament concerns come to play. Sorry, I'm trying to get adjusted here. Okay, so we get going. I talked to Grant a little bit. Again, he's not on. He's working right now, and he's very busy with different things. But my first segment's going to be a too high, too low, and I had him give me looks like 9 is what he gave me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yep, he gave me 9 teams um, for me to look up on KenPom. They're all mid majors, so thought I'd do a little something different. Usually very power conference centric, so I wanted to get a little bit uh, of mid majors coming in. And so first, he's got Liberty down. They're the 69th ranked team on KenPom, hailing from Conference USA. They're 11-1. Their offensive rating rank is 102, and their defensive rating rank is 53. And I think they're a little bit too high. If you have that low of an offensive rating, I just can't buy into you. I'm very convinced that offense, uh, while defense can do a lot, in today's game, offense wins you championships. The defense wins you championships isn't really a thing anymore. I'm sorry. I got some spotty internet right now. Not really sure what's going on, but and I mean, their defensive rank is only 53. So the fact that their defense ranks 53 and their offensive rank is 102, I have a hard time believing they're the 69th team, 69th best team, excuse me, in the country. St. Joseph's, hailing from the A10, they're the 94th ranked team on KenPom. They're 7-4. Their offensive rating is 130. Their defensive rating is 84. I'm gonna I'm gonna say they're too high as well. I do like this St. Joseph squad a lot, but the issue is I don't see them making the NCAA tournament because unless somebody besides Dayton wins the conference tournament, which it is possible St. Joseph's could win it, I just do not see how I can buy stock in a team like St. Joseph's when they're in the same conference as Dayton, who might be a top 10 team in the country. They're a very, very good squad. So I'm going to sell them as well. Milwaukee is the next team he had up. They hailed from the Horizon League. They're the 134th ranked team. They're 8-4 on the season, 123 offensive rank, 182 defensive rank. I think they're going to be the best team in the Horizon League this year, so I think they're going to make the tournament. So, got to say they're too low. And I understand that it's not everything, but when it comes down to it, even if they're not actually ranked that way as far as rankings go, uh, you got to be one of the 68 best teams in the country to make the tournament. So if I believe you're going to make the tournament, you're one of the 68 best teams. So give me Milwaukee as my first too low squad. Next, I have Columbia from the Ivy League. They're the 148th ranked team in the country. They are 10-1 on the season. Their offensive rating is 106. Their defensive rating is just 239. I do buy this team a lot. Uh, So I am going to say, because of that offensive rating, they're a little bit too low in the overall rankings, but I don't see them making the tournament. So I don't know that they're that low. I really love the Yale squad. I know they lost Danny Wolf, but I mean, we saw what they did at Purdue. They can shoot it a little bit, and so I don't think Columbia is making the tournament. Don't need to spend much time on it. Kent State from the MAC. I believe they're the best team in the MAC. They're the 117th ranked team. They're 8-4. Uh, their offensive rating is 216, and their defensive rating is all the way up to 62. Uh, I got to buy every team that's the best team in the MAC. They seem to at least give a run and make a game interesting in the NCAA tournament every year. So I'm going to say they're a little bit low, but I will say that offensive rating scares me. As I mentioned, I'm a big offensive rating guy. But when you have the 62nd ranked defense and you're hailing from the MAC, probably going to win the MAC. So let's buy stock in Kent State a little bit. If they can give a high ranking team in the NCAA tournament as around a 14 or a 15 seed, they can give them a tough time, put them on upset alert. Now we've got four teams from Missouri Valley to close it out. We got the highest ranked is Drake at 71. Uh, I'm going to say they're actually a little bit low at 71. Uh, I think they have a chance to actually get an auto bid in the tournament. They're not top 25 like a lot of people think they are, but they are too low at 71. I think they're a really good squad. Bennett Sturts is a star. He should not have been in a Division two school, but there's a reason they won national championships. Um, I think they're going to win the Missouri Valley this year, but I actually think the Valley could be a two-bid league this year, with some of the other mid-major conferences being a little down this year. And they are 10-0, as I mentioned. Their defensive rating is 46. Offensive rating is just 114, which does scare me. Next on the list is Bradley. They're the 78th ranked team in KenPom. They're 9-2. Their offensive rating is 50. Defensive rating is 128. Give me that squad over Drake. Offensive rating 50. Are you serious? Or your rank, excuse me, offensive rating rank is 50, but buy stock in Bradley. I think Bradley and Drake both make the tournament. I'm selling stock on both Northern Iowa and Murray State at 93 and 110 respectively. They're 7-4 and 6-4 respectively. Um, Northern Iowa does have the 67th ranked offense and 138th ranked defense. Murray State's got the 121st ranked offense and 126th ranked defense. So how they're 110, I don't really understand. I think they're both a little too high, although I do really like Northern Iowa's offense. I just think with Bradley and Drake both being a little bit too low, and the fact that I think if it is a two bid league, it's going to be Drake and Bradley. I just can't buy stock in Northern Iowa or Murray State. So now for the next topic, we're going to have buy and selling groups of 10. So we're going to do the top 10, 11 through 20, and 21 through 30 on KenPom. Like I said, very KenPom centric episode today. And with my buying and selling, I'm going to give my team that buys first, like to be positive. I'm going to give what they're ranked, and I'm going to give just a short little segment on why I think I'm buying that squad and why I think I'm selling that squad, respectively. So first, we're going to do 21 through 30. We're going to go backwards until we get to our top 10. I'm going to buy Ole Miss. They're 29 on KenPom, and I think they're a very old squad. They have a top 20 offense, and Chris Beard's their coach. Uh, Chris Beard has proven us time and time again he knows how to win, plain and simple. And he's got a really old squad this year that's played together. And as I mentioned, top 20 offense in KenPom, and I love me a good offensive team. So I got to buy Ole Miss. And I just think, honestly, 29 is too low if we want to get back into the last segment a little bit. I'm selling Purdue at 22. Now, they do have a top 10 offense right now, but I just do not think that's sustainable. They rely on three guys, Braden Smith, Fletcher Lawyer, and Trey Kaufman-Renn. And I don't see that sustaining. They're very Braden Smith reliant, and Braden Smith is arguably the best point guard in the country. But I think in Big Ten play, like what's going to happen when Braden gets shut down by Kylan Boswell at the end of the year against Illinois? And he's not the only one. I mean, we saw what happened when Ace Baldwin locked him down. They lost Penn State. And I think that's going to continue to happen. There's a lot of really good defensive guards in the Big Ten this year. And lastly, they can't guard inside. Trey Kaufman Wren only shows up half the time. You never know when he's going to get a rebound. I think he's got one block on the entire year. Uh, they had to go with small ball with Daniel Jacobson going out and Wilbur just being terrible. But yeah, I think Trey Kaufman Wren's a guy without a position. He's a guy that has the size and body type of a four, but the play style of a five. And that's not a good recipe for success as a whole on the season for Purdue. Now to 11 through 20. I'm buying stock in Illinois. They're at 17. And yeah, I know I'm probably going to sound like a homer choosing Illinois, but listen, there wasn't a lot to buy in that 11 through 20 group, in my opinion. And I just think that duo of international guys, KJ and Big T, uh, I love that pairing. KJ might be the best guard in the country. I know I just said that about Braden Smith, but oh my Lanta, that dude can score, that dude can pass, he rebounds. I mean, he's on triple double watch every single night. And I think just the more he gets comfortable, the less turnovers he's going to have. He's always going to have turnovers. He's aggressive, and I think he sees the floor better than everybody on the floor. So sometimes his teammates aren't even ready for some of the passes he makes, and that step back three is just deadly. And I think it's actually for most guys it's not sustainable, but a European kid like him. We saw from I hate to compare him to Luca, but we've seen from Luca those European guys like that step back, and and he's very, very good at it, and he's going to continue to make those shots. I think he just played probably the worst game he's going to play all year, and still had 20 points against Tennessee. So also they have a top 35 offense and a top 15 defense and they were arguably the better team against Tennessee the other night. I know they lost, but overall, I've actually seen a lot of pundits. I'm not the only one saying that either. Um, you know, anytime you outplay the top or the number one team in the country, even if you do lose, and yes, it is at home, so they get a little boost from the State Farm Center, but that's one place that for whatever reason, because they are rowdy in there, but you know, outside of one of the Io and Kofi team, Brad Underwood honestly generally plays better on the road and on neutral sites, which is good for a tournament play, and that's why I'm buying this stock. And and I just think this team's only going to get better. They're young, and I'll get to it a little bit later. But like I've said in previous episodes about Duke, young teams tend to get better as the season goes on, as they get more comfortable, and that's what's going to happen with this Illinois group. I'm selling UCLA at 13. They haven't really played anybody yet, and I just don't think there's any team, excuse me, that starts Sky Clark that can have a top five defense, and their offense is only ranked 56. You're telling me that team's better than Illinois, even Purdue. I could even make an argument for Rutgers. I just don't see how a team that has the 56th best offense is the 13th best team in the country in today's day and age. Plain simple. Now to my top 10. And as I mentioned, I was going to get to Duke. I'm buying them. There are three. Uh, they have the best player in the country, Cooper Flag. He's going to be the number one pick. Uh, Anytime you have the number one pick, you got to buy stock in that team, especially when they got good guys around them. They're really starting to figure out their rotations. It appears that John Shire's finally growing a little bit, and with that, I got to buy stock in Duke. I said at the beginning of the year I thought they were the best team in the country. I still stand by that. I know they've got a couple losses on the year, but um, the more this team gets better, the more this team grows. Um, they're going to be awesome by the end of the year. And that matchup As I've said before, Duke and Illinois at Madison Square Garden in February in the middle of conference play. Both teams are taking off and going to play a non-conference game. It's going to be awesome. And I think everybody in the country should be tuned into that one. If you're any sort of a basketball fan, you don't even have to be a college basketball fan, and you're going to want to watch that game. You can be more of an NBA guy. Well, great. You get to see uh, two surefire lottery picks, probably two top five picks in Cooper Flag and KJ going at it. Con Knipple had an argument to go in the lottery. Uh, so does Big Z and Will Riley. So there's going to be NBA guys everywhere, and that game's going to be awesome. I'm selling Florida at 7. Just like UCLA, they haven't played anybody. I get they're undefeated, but you're telling me Elijah Martin as Robin to somebody's Batman uh, is going to result in the seventh best team in the country? I mean, come on now. He wasn't even the Robin on Florida Atlantic last year. And granted, he has been pretty good so far at Florida, but uh, John L. Davis and Vlad Golden were the stars for a reason. And you can't tell me that that guy's going to go to Florida and all of a sudden be the second best player. So when SEC play comes around, I look for that team to really neutral out because the SEC, as we've seen so far in the season, is undisputed the best conference in the country this year, and it's loaded. So a team like Florida, a team like Vanderbilt, who's been successful early, even South Carolina, those teams are going to end up taking back seats. Now, I do think all three teams have a relatively simple path to the NCAA tournament, but somebody's got to bottom out in the SEC. And I don't think Florida's going to bottom out by any means. I just don't think they're the seventh best team in the country. Lastly, spot everybody's been waiting for, the Illinois-Mizzou preview. The bragging rights game is going to take place at noon on Sunday at the Enterprise Center in St. Louis. So I just have 5 questions. Um, that's really kind of my preview. So I'm going to go ahead and get into them. Number one, Tony Perkins, very good defensive player. He was a good defensive player at Iowa, at a place that they don't play defense. He fits better in Dennis Gates' offense and defense than he did at Iowa. And so, how does KJ fare against him? He's a guy, Tony Perkins is a guy that forced a lot of turnovers. KJ, so far in the season, we've seen susceptible turnovers. But like I said earlier, they are turnovers you live with. But what's going to happen against a guy like that's really going to pressure him? One thing is for sure, though, KJ has the major height advantage. So if he can find a way to handle it, Mizzou might be in trouble because he's going to be able to just elevate over him, get it, post him up if he needs to. So I'll be really interested to see how that matchup goes with KJ on offense, Perkins on defense. Number two, who guards Martin Mitchell? Martin Mitchell has by far been their best player, in my opinion. I know Tamar Bates had that 29-point game. He's been a very good Robin to Mitchell's Batman, but Mitchell's by far the best player. But thing is, though, and this kind of gets into my number three, I'm going to blend these two together. How does Mitchell fare very good against the Illinois interior D? Because he's a guy that, while he can shoot from outside, he relies a lot on getting inside, kind of backing you down. Now, we did see Northwestern be successful with that with Martinelli and Barnheiser, but it was more Barnheiser posting up the Illinois guards. So, what's going to happen when he's trying to post up Merez Johnson if he comes into the game? Uh, I think Mitchell has a chance to be successful really early if Ben Rickhouse still starts and guards him starting out. As Rickhouse, we've seen, has some serious defensive liabilities. He did look very good defensively, though, against Tennessee, but it was a situation where he was kind of sagging off, kind of knowing his role. He's a very good help D guy, not a great on ball defender. So if they have him, it could get interesting if he guards Mitchell. Um, and they don't really have necessarily another option to guard Mitchell unless Trey White guards him. But again, uh, White's a little bit undersized compared to Mitchell. But with Big T inside, that's going to really disrupt his shots if he does get inside um, from the help. So how does Mitchell distribute out, from there? That'll be interesting to see. But, I mentioned Merez Johnson. This comes into number four. Do we see more Merez with this matchup? I could very easily see Underwood. This is a good matchup for him when they're playing against a four that likes to go inside. Merez is clearly their best rebounder, best defender, although Big T has been good. And I should say best interior defender. Boswell might be the best defender in the country. Him or Ace Baldwin, both of those guys are great perimeter defenders. It'll be interesting to see who gets Defensive Player of the Year, but that's another conversation for another day. But plain and simple, do we see more Merez? I think we should. Um, I think he has a chance to really disrupt what Mitchell wants to do. So it'll be interesting to see. This is really a fun matchup. And so now we get into number five. I mentioned Kylan Boswell being arguably the best perimeter defender in the country this year. What's going to happen with Tamar Bates? I said he's clearly the second fiddle to Mitchell, but he's also clearly their best offensive guard. So you're going to see Boswell guard Bates. And what's going to happen? Because I don't think, I mean, I know he had DeJuan Harris guard him, and uh, and that was kind of the Mitchell game. I mean, he was all right, but Bates wasn't great against DeJuan Harris. And to me, Boswell's clearly the better defender compared to Harris. So how's he going to fare? I really question it. So that's my five questions. I'm going to go ahead and give you a prediction. I do think Illinois wins, but I think it's going to be a pretty tight one. That Mizzou Illinois game usually brings a lot of energy. I do think that it has some sleepwalk potential for Illinois, but coming off that Purdue loss, that Illinois really feels like they should have won that game, as they should. Um, I look for a big KJ game. Uh, I look for Big T, probably shoot a little better. I look for a Will Riley breakout though, because I think the focus for Mizzou is going to be so much on Kasparis, Boswell, and Big T. I think when Will Riley comes off the bench, I think he's going to be able to get some shots that he hasn't gotten as of late due to the fact that teams were really guarding him because for a while he was Illinois' leading scorer. So I think we could see a big Will Riley game. Um, I also think that Illinois is going to want this one. They need it to kind of go 2-2 in their big non-conference games of the early on season before conference play gets really going. I know they've played Northwestern Wisconsin already. And I also think they're recruiting Alex Costanza, and they're selling him on being the next Will Riley, probably reclass, and then one and done, which is probably what Will Riley's going to do. So I think Underwood really wants to get a feature out of Will Riley and Kasparis in this one to show Costanza, hey, look what we can do for these NBA guys. I know Will Riley was struggling for a little bit. We're getting him back. We're going to let him keep shooting because we know when he goes on a heater, good luck. He's going to get his shots whether you try to defend him or not. And I think the final score is 74-64. Illinois wins. So lastly, I know I said lastly, but of course we got to have the Clutch Our Pearls segment. I'm flipping that over so I don't look at it. I actually don't have this on paper because I ran out of room. I was writing so much KenPom stuff. So what clutched my pearls this week? Um, it's got to be Illinois blowing that one against uh, against Tennessee. KJ missed some free throws late. They made some costly turnovers. Um, but the big thing is why is Coach Underwood not calling timeout there? I really wanted him to call timeout after KJ made the second free throw, so that way they could set our defense. Because plain simple, Illinois got one of the best defenses in the country, as I mentioned before, and it's really, really good in the half court. And I think that game goes to overtime if he calls a timeout. And he said that after the game. So I got to give credit to Coach Underwood. It's not a too negative thing. And also, supposedly, according to Coach Antigua, KJ was in the gym until 2 a.m. He went and got dinner or whatever after the game and came back and was in the gym until 2 a.m. because he was so upset with himself and how he performed. And so that's why I'm not at all worried, but it did clutch my pearls a little bit that Brad Underwood didn't call timeout. So thank you for again watching game or watching the Clutch Pearl podcast. I'm sorry if there is some internet issues. I know I'm lagging a little bit, and I'm sorry about that. I hate to see that, but thank you for listening in to the Clutch Pearl podcast. I'm Noah Carter, and I'm logging off.